to get the meeting started. You can rise if you're able to speak flag. All right, good evening. We have a full council tonight, all councilors. We will get going with this. We will start off with public comment for items not on the agenda. Prior to starting that, Vice Chair Cook would like to read off something she prepared.
Mr. Chair, I just want to acknowledge that times for our last council meeting, we received a number of emails from residents. I'm going to list off their names. All of these residents expressed concerns to the town council about what is happening in Maine at the hands of federal agencies that are currently. Louder, please. Sorry. Thank you. All of these residents who sent emails, I'll list off their names in a moment. Essentially, I'm not going to make everyone sit and listen to every single email that was sent to us, but to summarize all of them, everyone is generally concerned about what is happening in Maine currently with the presence of federal agents in the state of Maine. And so those people that have reached out to us are Elizabeth Urban McDermott, Zach Noble, Anthony Basson, Carl Pearson, Sandy Grafiotis, Teresa Choi, the owners of Catbird, Molly Pritchett and Josh Grindstaff, Michael Carter, Christine Urban McDermott, Jamie Flanagan, Gabriel Urban McDermott, Alicia De Los Reyes, Gail Santos, Laura Eaton, Lee Peak, Hershey Hirschkopf, Amelia Nadilo, Pat Robinson, and Tim Schlecka. Just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge those. Monique, I'll forward all of those emails to you, and they'll be included in the record for our minutes for next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Along with that, a lot of those emails that were sent to us were looking for a comment from the Southport Police Department. Currently, Chief Ruger is out of town. He will be coming back next week. We did get a statement from the deputy chief in Chief Ruger's absence. He reads, the Southport Police Department is committed to protecting the lives, property, and constitutional rights of the citizens of Southport while maintaining our oath of office that all officers swore to and hired. We will have a presentation by the chief at our next scheduled meeting on Southport Police and their actions. We feel that it's justified to wait until the chief gets here to go over what he has really worked out with his officers and their way forward. With that being said, we will get into public comment. This is the way we normally run this. It's 3 minutes for everybody who wants to come up and speak. Please list your name and address when you come up. We'd like to keep the topics new, so if you come up, please try to not repeat what was said before you. With that being said, who do we have? Who would like to step up first? We'll start in the back and look our way forward.
Melissa Costello, Boyd's Corner Road. Dustin. Fiscal responsibility and accountability. These principles have been repeatedly emphasized and directed specifically at our administration during recent council meetings, particularly by the newly elected officials. Their importance cannot be overstated, as they are not only ideals that we all desire, but rights we deserve and expect, but not just from our administration, but from the council itself. However, a significant concern arises regarding our elected officials. Currently, citizens have no assurance that these standards will consistently be upheld, as there is no recourse in place if they are not. This concern, left unaddressed, transforms into a tangible problem. Reports of misconduct, misappropriation of funds, self-serving actions, partisan decision-making, and ex parte communications among elected officials are currently running rampant in neighboring towns and throughout the state, which highlights the urgency of this issue. There is no better time than now to establish guarantees that such behaviors will neither occur nor be tolerated within our own town. Should such incidents unfortunately arise, it is imperative that clear consequences are established. Currently, they do not exist. With this context in mind, I respectfully urge you, as the policymakers of our town, to consider drafting an ordinance designed to ensure accountability and maintain public trust in our elected officials. Specifically, I propose the creation of a legal framework permitting the recall of elected officials when warranted. To clarify, this request is not an accusation or allegation of current neglect of duty by any of our council members. Rather, it is a proactive safeguard ensuring that if the standards of public office are not met, appropriate action can be taken. Recall procedures empower citizens to remove elected officials from office before their terms conclude, which is particularly valuable in instances of misconduct, incompetence, or dereliction of duty. Such processes serve to address mismanagement, neglect, or any conduct that may compromise the integrity of public office. Ultimately, enabling citizen participation in the removal process helps uphold high standards of governance and protects the public's interest, a matter of utmost importance to both constituents and officials. At this time, I formally request that the council discuss the implementation of a recall ordinance for elected officials and place this topic on the agenda for either of the two scheduled meetings in February. This matter is both significant and urgent and should be given due attention so that it does not get forgotten on the back burner. I greatly appreciate your willingness to consider this discussion and urge you to reflect on the potential implications of opting not to address this request. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who would like to step forward?
Hello, my name is Alicia Delos Reyes, and I live at 16 Bittersweet Lane. I was one of the emailers. I would like to start off by saying thank you to the police officers and first responders from the fire department who work in our town. I appreciate your service very much. I've lived in South Berwick for 6 years. My husband, Andrew Quinton, has lived in here and in Wells for most of his entire life. Our kids go to school at Central and Great Work, and they played soccer and t-ball here. We all love the skating rink and sledding on Powerhouse Hill. And I'm here because I want to share how important it is for the police to protect our residents from ICE should the agency come to South Berwick. My father was born in Havana, Cuba in 1958. He came to the U.S. at the age of 3. He and his family left Cuba after my grandfather was detained by the government. He was rounded up along with several other people that day, and though he had done nothing wrong, he was imprisoned and sentenced to death. Eventually, thankfully, he was released, and my family left soon after that for the U.S. because they realized it was no longer safe to live there. And when I heard this story as a child, I never imagined something like this happening in the United States. But ICE is detaining people every day. ICE reports that it has arrested 200 people in Maine since launching Operation Catch of the Day, a horrible name that equates people to food. Reliable anecdotes from municipal leaders show that innocent people with no criminal record who are here legally are being taken away from their families, homes, and jobs. ICE is now allowing its agents to enter homes without a warrant, giving them more power. On a personal note, I have always loved my name. It shows my heritage. I'm really proud to be the daughter of an immigrant. I know how hard my family worked when they came here to start over in this country. My father and my aunts and uncles became doctors, teachers, architects, and engineers, and they are very proud to be American. And I am also. But now my name, which shows all of this, feels like a liability. If I'm allowed to be arrested in my own home, then where can I feel safe? I am asking the police of South Berwick to protect the residents of South Berwick, especially people who are living my family's story, people who are at risk of being detained if ICE comes to our town. The law-abiding people of South Fairfield Daycare, because this is our home. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Other breakfast, we'll do for something a little different. At the, on December 30th, I wrote and submitted a letter to the council on considering LD 1821 and it does it, and what the implications of what that would be in town. At the last meeting, on the 15th, I referred to it, but also stated that it's too long. I'm not going to read it to you. With the expectation that we put in the packet. When I saw the packet for this meeting on Thursday, it was not in the packet, and I thought I had made. I sent an email alerting that not only was it not in the packet, but there were no minutes in the packet. It seems the minutes finally showed up this afternoon. So I would like that letter of December 30th submitted, please.
My file.
Okay, thank you.
So it was on my list to get in. Got distracted. I apologize, Brad.
But all right, I mean, look at the size of the packet, I'm not surprised. So with that said, thank you. I also sent you a letter on January 14th, which is short. I sent an email and there were 3 attachments. There was a letter from me, and this is in regards to Town of Scarborough, which passed a resolution to make the recommendations to LD 1829 and to refine it. And that resolution was passed by the town. So I sent you their meeting and the resolution that submitted to the state, to the Speaker of the House, Governor, etc. So my letter is simply this: Town of Scarborough, Maine Resolution 26-001, recommendation for Maine 1829, implementation and legislative requirement. To all concerned, this is directed to you and planning board. Town of Scarborough adopted the above resolution on January 7th, 2026. Their town's governmental structure is an elected town council with the town manager appointed and supervised by them for administrating the town's function as noted by the charter. It is very similar to ours in design, and like us presently, they are grappling with the LD 1829. Yet there is a distinct difference. Scarborough have taken action by creating this resolution to challenge them, especially because it is an unfunded state mandate and deprives their community of authority. It is an extensive list of concerns conflicting with the intent of their comprehensive plan and its implementation within their ordinances and laws. I believe this might sound familiar to you. I encourage you to consider developing some similar resolution for Southburg. Use it as a template. Please refer to the resolution in tandem with defining and implementing the comprehensive plan into its ordinance in response. Suggesting there's a possibility there if we look at this in a couple of ways. But hopefully it's something that we'll have a discussion on. Thank you.
Everybody else who would like to speak on any?
Greetings, everyone in my back. My name is Emily McLaughlin. I'm a resident of South Berwick and I live at 3 Mealy Street. I'm married and I have 2 lovely twins, 8 years old. They attend Central Street School. I have been an attorney for 20 years and I'm licensed in both Maine and New Hampshire. Most of my 20 years has been spent defending and prosecuting crimes and active court cases, law and order style. 2 of my brothers are retired officers of the Marine Corps. My third brother is a police sergeant in Meredith, New Hampshire. My twin sister is a teacher. My father was the Attorney General of New Hampshire for many, many years. I give you a brief history of myself and the family who raised me so that I can convey that I have a deep and abiding respect for our community, for our law enforcement, and for our Constitution. I implicitly trust that the police and the fire department would appear if I had a problem, and that they would appear if the community had a problem. In fact, they did so this morning at 3 Yale Street, where there was a report of a chimney fire. I appreciate that. I would trust that the South Berwick Police would protect the community and enforce the law, even if the offenders are people who work for the federal government under DHS and ICE. Federal supremacy and immunity often shield ICE officers rightfully from state interference. However, exceptions do exist when federal agents exceed legal authority or if they act unlawfully. MAID is a separate entity and has a constitutional right to object to excessive force within its borders and violations of the law of the state. If anyone appeared in our community engaged in disorderly conduct, assault, harassment, illegal searches and seizures, I would trust that the South Berwick Police Department would immediately arrest and detain that person and charge them with the appropriate criminal offenses accordingly. I will be happy to offer my services to the South Berwick Police Department, to the town, or to whomever in order to assist in filing complaints or to prosecute any and all such violent overreach. I hope it doesn't happen. I think our community deserves the police who we have, and we also deserve to feel safe in our homes and on our streets. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other takers? Any?
Good evening. My name is Amelia Nadilla. I live on Witch Trot Road here in South Berwick. I am one of the people that also emailed, but I'd like to share my thoughts here with you all today. We are witnessing profound horror and harm across our country and now here in Maine. And yet, we have to continue sending emails, packing lunches for Mother Two Boys, and going about our day while uncertainty and fear grow around us. In this moment, I am asking for leadership, clarity, and reassurance from our town officials. In the span of a few weeks, immigrant enforcement activity has intensified. Brave citizens protesting, using their First Amendment right, have filmed ICE agents murder Renee Good and Alex Cruddy. This federal agency has been militarized and mobilized across the country. People, including immigrants with legal status and U.S. citizens, have been detained, separated from their families, or denied due process. What once largely administrative immigration enforcement now feels like indiscriminate targeting based on appearance, language, or accent. This administration is overwhelmingly failing, and not just in the polls, and the majority of American public do not want to have ICE agents terrorizing their communities and creating chaos. We are seeing collective care in action by neighbors organizing and taking care of each other, even here in this town and our neighboring communities. We're seeing individuals lead and leaders be silent. If our town government and our police department and our fire department are here to serve and protect, then I would like to know, and I'm sure the community would too, how are we serving our most vulnerable members of our community? How are they protecting immigrants and citizens from this gross overreach of the federal government? How are they protecting due process, safety, and basic human dignity? And what guidance can you all offer to residents who are scared and confused or unsure of their rights? Unless you are part of a Facebook group or proactively reaching out to get questions answered, the average South Berwick citizen has received no communication from our elected officials about what's happening in our country, in our state, and how we can keep all members of this community safe and supported. Everyone should be outraged and speaking up, banding together, organizing, supporting our local community, and resisting this direct assault on our natural-born rights. It is not a felony to be in this country illegally. It is a civil, not a criminal offense. And we are overwhelmingly talking about the people being abducted who are the same people cooking our meals, or mowing our lawns, or caring for our children, or people that have been deeply embedded in our community and are part of what makes it so special. Maine's immigration population is small, roughly 0.4%, but the impact of ICE is enormous. The federal government has targeted 1,400 immigrants as part of their Catch of the Day initiative. They are dehumanizing neighbors to meet their quotas. Children are missing their classmates, families being torn apart, and our local businesses are losing valued employees. People are afraid to leave their homes to go to the grocery store, even if they are a legal immigrant. People are being snatched after their visa or asylum check-in appointments. Legal and illegal immigrants are being detained, and God knows what treatment they are enduring at those centers. So how is South Berwick standing up to this and helping to get ICE out of Maine? Government service must put the most vulnerable at the center of our decisions, especially in moments of crisis. So I respectfully ask all of you to speak publicly, clarify your policies, state how South Berwick will support all residents' safety and rights, and share what resources exist and what limits there are on local cooperation and federal enforcement. Thank you for being the leaders we need.
Buddy? Seeing none, is there anybody online? Seeing anybody online? All right, we will move away from public comment. We will now go to council member comments. Sam, start with you.
I have the same concerns as all those people that have emailed us and those that come here to speak out. It's terrific. And rightful to expect your leaders to stand up and do something, at least to state what I think is perhaps obvious, but given what's going on, it doesn't seem to be so obvious to federal government anyways. So I'd like to move that the town council acknowledge the recent public correspondence regarding ICE, direct the council in coordination with the police department to prepare and issue a joint statement affirming the town's commitment to the rule of law, the United States Constitution, the safety of all of our residents, and in parallel, authorize the council to draft and consider resolutions consistent with that commitment.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second on that. Any discussion on council member Lincoln's motion?
Sam, do you mind if I add something to that? I would also like to add to that we adopt a ban on 287G to prevent state and local law enforcement officers from receiving direction and oversight from ICE. Other municipalities in Maine have already done this, and we should do the same.
I have a statement, I guess I'll read from this. I am completely appalled by what is happening in our country. Right, and clearly communicate with residents and expect that federal immigration agents show up in our community. People deserve to know what the town's response would be, what role law enforcement would play, and how we would intend to protect residents, whether someone is the direct target of federal action or simply present as an observer. I also very much hope that this moment serves as an opportunity for our local officers to reflect and prepare both individually and collectively on how they want to handle these situations if and when they arise. As elected officials, I believe that we have a responsibility to speak clearly and unequivocally. We should condemn what is happening in this country and take a very proactive stance. A year ago, this conversation felt completely hypothetical, but it no longer is. Federal agents have already been in nearby Maine communities, and it is reasonable to believe that they may be here for some time. This means that leadership matters. We must reassure our residents that this is not behavior that we accept, and that we are doing everything within our power to protect the people who live here. I strongly encourage residents to testify on LB 2106. That is happening this coming Thursday. This bill is a state-level bill that would restore protections for sensitive places like schools, hospitals, and places of worship. This is an opportunity and for residents to be able to take action today. These were rolled back in 2025. Public testimony, especially in person, truly matters. You can testify in person and in public. Lastly, I just encourage everyone to take the time to understand what their rights are and think through what you would do if you encountered federal immigration enforcement. Unfortunately, we're all being challenged with that question. Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, I'll
I'll echo, work, of course, concerns I've heard, emails we received and the other night and fellow counselors. I was sad, heartbroken, and angry over the events of the past weekend. And those are emotions I don't usually feel all at once, but I did. And I think, but now is the time where we need to be concentrating at the issue at hand, and that's making sure our citizens are safe and protected. I do have some specific questions and I think they've come out through some of these things, but I do think we need to give the police department direction of what we are asking for. How do we plan to protect our residents who peacefully protest the presence of ICE in our community? You can see them every Wednesday on Main Street. How can we ensure they will be safe? I would like to know how we plan to. How do we ensure our residents receive their constitutional rights from warrantless entry and unlawful search and seizure? I think we need to get that information out there and make sure there's an understanding of what rights citizens have. How do we ensure residents here feel safe in their workplace? And there's at the school, and that's a question for the school board, and actually right here in town hall. And then finally, last year at a town council meeting, I know the police chief and the manager, and I think a number of people greatly appreciated it, stated that our police department would not assist with federal immigration enforcement. I think clarity on what that means would be very helpful at this time. And I think maybe what Joel just spoke to would take care of that. So I want to also emphasize that I have absolute and total respect for the South Florida Police Department. I'm very confident of their ability to do those sorts of things. But I do think we need answers to those questions. Thank you. Joel?
Sorry, a lot of things could go on. As many people have said over the past week, witnessing what ICE has been doing across our country, as well as Maine, it's very disheartening and just makes every day very difficult. This is important to me, especially growing up in Lewiston with a very large Somali population, a lot of friends, and hearing about their experiences and their panic, and seeing what that is also happening to other Mainers in Portland, Biddeford, and most recently York County, where someone was taken after they were baited to go to an immigration meeting following the law. These enforcement actions are particularly damaging to our communities of color, immigrants and people in our town, many of whom have built their lives for years, now living in fear. Families are being separated. Parents are afraid to send their children to school or even show up for work. Police departments across Maine are escorting children home. This is not what Maine or this country should be. We should be having discussions about how to lower the cost of electricity and taxes and try to make things more affordable in Maine and have it be a vacation land. But we have to have conversations about this, while at the same time fighting rhetoric and lies from an administration that has said that these agents have immunity, which is a lie. Immigrants in Maine have a significant economic impact, including billions of income of local spending. They support our schools, emergency services, and community programs. Many immigrants pay taxes and they cannot access federal benefits. Immigrant-owned businesses create jobs and contribute to our economy. It is coming out right now that ICE agents are more likely to have a criminal record over an undocumented immigrant. 92% of those that have been detained this year do not have a criminal record. ICE has reported 36 deaths since their siege on the United States, many due to inhumane conditions and abuse within their facilities. 16 people so far that we know their names of who have legal status here in Maine have been taken across state lines. Judges from Maine have requested them be returned. The Department of Homeland Security said we do not have jurisdiction over them because they're no longer in Maine. Another thing to add is when you take a child across state lines without parental permission, we have a name for it, it's called human trafficking. Anyone who knows me knows exactly where I stand on this and with a lot of topics. I want to see statements come out from leadership in this town, but more importantly, I want to see action. I want to see our town manager and our town office sharing resources consistently on Facebook and providing access to members of the community. If you are someone who is afraid to get groceries, please message me. I will get them for you. If you are someone that wants that you're afraid for your child to walk home from school or go from school, I will be there as well. I would like to see this town continue to grow, and the only way we can do that is together by following the constitutions and what makes this town great.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay. And after we restate the motion,
Yes.
you don't end that with what Joel, who does the ad.
Do you want that to be a distinction or part of the conversation related to the resolution? I tried to draft it so it was just an open, basically,
As
The
it should,
intention
as
is-
it should be.
and then our resolution. Do you want me to restate, still include that, or just me? Or do you feel like I guess you don't really do discussion, you add the discussion in the minutes, which would be captured, or? Okay, we'll see. Okay. Motion was that I move that the town council acknowledge recent public correspondence regarding ICE, direct council in coordination with the police department to prepare and issue a joint public statement affirming the town's commitment to the rule of law, the United States Constitution, the safety of all residents, and to discuss the enactment of a ban on 287G. In parallel, authorize the council to draft and consider resolutions consistent with that commitment.
Second that.
I think
Or do we have a motion? I just asked.
Well, he was,
Okay.
no, he just amended.
Okay.
Thank you. We get a motion in a second. Any discussion on Sam's motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Sorry, just a kind of practice question for us. So the motion on the table is basically kind of us expressing our intention to draft this statement. So how are we going to go about actually formulating the statement? I just want to let the public know kind of what will happen after this point. I would assume that we would have had that happen item on our agenda for our next meeting to refine the statement and codify it. Is my thought.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think Chair said that the chief of police would be at the next meeting as well.
Police chief will be at the next meeting, to address. Correct, Mr. Nominated?
Way the statement's created based on the way you wrote the motion. That the next step in the process would be the council, would either hold a workshop or meet with the police chief or the police administration to see what their side of the statement would say, so that they can offer that. They have to have an opportunity to sit with the council, hear your concerns, I think, and then figure out how and what they can say. So somewhere there has to be a working time where folks can work together before a public statement's drafted and stuff's all done. So the police department can have an opportunity to work on their side of it.
Are you available to Zoom in next week if we could get a meeting with the police chief?
I don't think we wanna wait. We need to have this for the next meeting.
No, correct, that's what I'm saying. So if Sam's available next week to zoom in, if we can get a meeting set up between the council, the police chief, and any representatives he wants there, we can work on this, so we have it ready to go as an agenda item for the next meeting.
So vote on this motion and then another motion to be made.
Yes.
On that, I also already have language from the AC and that.
Okay, so moving on to the vote on the first motion, Sam.
Aye.
Joel, aye. Yeah, got next to me, Paul. Paul. And I also, motion passes 5-0. Would you like to make a motion?
Sorry, before you make a motion, I'm just gonna go ahead right now.
You do any, so Sam, make a motion to set up a meeting with the police chief next week. Tim, you know that we can't do it on Tuesday. See when Chief Ruger is available for us, please.
And it should be with the police administration.
Yes, so the police administration set it up. I'm available any day next week for this issue, so,
Any day but Tuesday.
yeah, any day but Tuesday for now. Anybody else?
And what time of day do you want this?
Yeah,
Yeah, let the chief, because I think he's the police administration, they can provide the schedule on that, the date.
yeah, I can leave work to get here for this, so it doesn't matter to me. You make it happen, I'll be there.
So the motion would just be schedule it, no, with no.
Have the town manager schedule a meeting with the police administration.
I move that the town manager schedule with police administration a workshop to go over the previous.
So a motion in a second, any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Point of information. Will this workshop be available for citizens to attend and not speak, or is this behind closed doors?
Our workshops are always open, man, they are not behind closed doors. As far as allowing citizens to speak.
No, we don't allow citizens to speak.
They don't, in normal workshops, no, so no, they can attend, they just, again, much like a budget workshop, they can attend, but there will be no input from the public going forward. Thank you for the clarity.
I will say though, that said though, if between now and then, if anyone has any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out.
Yes. Yep, 2 seconds. Aye. Okay. Vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming to that. Again, it is an important issue we will get addressed next week. We will make sure it's out there for when, the workshop is gonna be, in case you want to attend, and then the following town council meeting, we will have a presentation on that. Moving forward, we will go down to approval of the following minutes, back into our regular business.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the January 13th, 2026 Board of Assessors meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we move to a vote. Sam? Aye. Paul? Aye. Joel? Aye. Now, vote aye also. Moving down to town council meeting minutes from January 13th, 2026.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from our January 13th, 2026 town council meeting as written.
I'll second that. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. We will move up to signing of the treasurer's warrant. We have the treasurer's warrant for the amount of $566,163.83 dated January 22nd, 2026.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to, send a treasurer's warrant dated January 22nd, 2026, the amount of $566,163.80.
Second. Hearing the motion in second. Discussion on the treasurer's warrant. Hearing none. We'll go to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Joel? Mallory? I vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. I'm struggling with anything. Okay, moving from that, we will go to the town manager's report. Then again.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, report for January 27, 2026. The highway department has purchased 1,770 tons of salt so far this year. They had to borrow 100 tons of salt from both the state and from the town of York for the last storm because we didn't get enough of it fast enough. The highway crew worked 37 straight hours this last storm cleaning the roads. Police department had 4 arrests, 7 accidents, 199 traffic stops. Fire department had 17 calls in the last 2 weeks, year to date, and 29 year to date. And their EMS training for their EMS transport system continues. Code enforcement had 3 building permits, 4 plumbing permits, 5 certificates of occupancy, 13 inspections. Planning and economic development, they had a revised meeting with Ron and Suzanne. That's website capabilities. The transfer station is nothing new.
At the library in the last 2 weeks, there had 852 visitors. On Tuesday, January 20th, there was a family event for Little Buddies Daycare in town, which was attended by over 30 people. This is a seasonal event that the library partners with daycares to bring families into the library. Recreation took a busload of 56 kids on the middle school trip on January 21st to go skiing. Cutter House was open on January 21st. The seniors had Blue Ocean Society came in for a presentation on the 14th. A travel presentation was held today for the seniors, where they were able to provide some feedback on new exciting trip ideas. Assessing, there has been a total of 41 abatements to date. 30 have been approved, 4 have been denied, and 7 are in process right now. The deadline to file an abatement is February 27th. In the town clerk's office, in the last 2 weeks, they had 216 motor vehicle transactions, 46 notarial acts, 51 dog licenses, which, a reminder, you need to register your dog before February 1st, or there'll be a $25 late fee.
Stop looking at me.
Just a reminder. We also have openings in 5 different boards, so if anyone is looking to be more involved with the town, please do so and fill out an application. In my area, we had our quarterly safety meeting on January 12th. I attended the monthly school department meeting with Elliot as well. And we have almost completed our second round of budget review with all department heads. And that is pretty much taking up all of my time these days. Budget. I had more than 50% by getting there.
Town manager's office area. We're working on, same again, budget, contract. Meetings, budget meeting with communication specialist. I attended the sewer department meeting. Met with Council Flintstrom over Bennett Road. Did the owner's representative interviews with council. Met with, Council Shoemaker over Rhode Avenue. Discussion. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Tim. Moving on, we have no reports and presentations. And at the council's will, I would like to make a motion to move new business up ahead of unfinished business. With the length of what we have, I'd like to get it in before the 9 o'clock hour. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Joel? Aye. Mallory? Vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. Let's see if I can do this in the correct order. Mr. Van.
I was just gonna say for the council, we're on page 146 of this.
Thank you. So we're starting off with the ambulance billing contract. Chief Hamel, good evening.
So we have 2 items up tonight, both are competitive procedural. Starting, the first is the ambulance billing contract. We contracted with a third party billing company that way more than specialty. We reached out to a bunch of different companies, we heard back from two. There's only two in the area that do this sort of work for services our size. There's a lot more that work in larger municipalities and cities, and then of course your private companies usually have their own in-house billing. So we went with Medical Reimbursement Services Inc. out of Maine. We also talked with Comstar out of Mass. Both came back at the same rate. They basically collect 6%, whatever they collect is their fee that we pay them. Both were a 3-year contract. I reached out to some of the services around us. Almost all of them have switched over from Comstar to MRS. And so I recommended to the manager that we enter the contract with MRS for the billing service.
Does anybody have any questions from the chief before we take action on this?
I just have one question, like in terms of 6%, do we have any idea what that total, obviously,
Right.
and what that total amount?
Yeah, so that's a piece we're going to put in the budget for next year. Because there's a little bit of lag to start running in July, for billing to start coming in. So I would estimate 250 to 270,000 in billing revenue, so it'd be 6% of that. So right around 20,000. And they both have a startup fee. I think MRS is under $1,000.
Yeah, I'm not altogether familiar with this, but so there's a dispute on a bill. How does that work?
So typically, the first 9 disputes are handled by the company. It's usually something to do with insurance particulars or coverages or whatnot. When it gets down to like a hardship or some other sort of issue, it's really local control at that point. So they'll send us a report of what they built, they've collected, and any accounts that are kind of in question. And we have the ultimate say for how we handle those sorts of hardships.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to allow the town manager to sign a contract with Medical Reimbursement Services.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion further on this part? Excellent. We'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory? Vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. Moving down to 26-05, ambulance billing fee schedule. You're still up, Chief.
I thought it was up for them. So this is part 2. Well, this is the other kind of procedural part. Now we have a company that we're billing on our behalf. This is the second piece. This is where we actually bill for. These are the standard, Medicare determined codes, for lack of a better term, that are billed for annual service. And you set the rates. It did a sub-study based on all the services in basically Southern York County, just over the bridge. It took a median of those, and those are all last year's rates. So we get a 5% increase, which is basically industry standard, and that's how we determined it. So we land right in the middle of the area.
Chief, I have a question about, and I'm not gonna get this all right, but I think you follow what I'm saying. My understanding that program where you kind of pay into.
Yeah, so there are subscription services. You find that a lot more commonly with the nonprofit, like with the ambulance group, than the subscription service. It's really hard from a municipal level because depending on people's interpretation of some of the Medicare rules, they consider that insurance, and they won't pay the insurance piece of that, which would leave the municipality exposed. So it was a thing a long time ago. It's becoming less and less, and the few programs that are still out there are just ones that have been that way for forever.
Are there any options that maybe come to mind for you of ways for situations, because an ambulance is incredibly expensive.
Correct.
You know, I don't know, I'm just wondering if there are something along those lines where there's some kind of discounted option in specific situations.
Yeah, I've been asked about, something that's basically if it's a hardship, it would be handled just like any other GA hardship would be handled. I can check with some other town and see.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see.
That sort of thing would land. Type of things. We can do that.
That emergency base rate, that could either York or.
Correct. Yes, that's the hospital and then building.
So, sorry, just a clarification question for you. Yeah. So,
Sure.
So the billing for the ambulance would be going to the hospital that you bring it to, correct?
The patient would be billed by ambulance based on, the transport.
So I know those.
Acting they do with the service. They'll negotiate on our behalf.
So who administers all of this? As in like, it's like MRS bills that Enterprise will collect, we're talking about now not being able to collect, all that good stuff. It's money hits the town. The bill's going up in MRS, say it gets paid, then there's not much to do. But, if it doesn't,
So the only real lift on
I'm trying to figure out the movement of the money here.
Right. So the real heavy lift on our end is reconciling what they deposit to us. It says something that our company mistake. Any disputes or any discrepancies would be escalated.
The sole point of contact with the town would be MRS.
Correct. Yes.
So they're really contact with the better term service.
Correct. Yeah. Typically, any inquiries are forwarded to them, and then if they meet the certain criteria, they go.
Then in that case, I imagine that's that ability to claim that hardship dictated by sort of law, state control, or is that just something
It's like any other town fee or tax.
factored in where what will be required to make sure that those, what I'm hearing are new ordinances that are going to be in place by the that's been part of some schedule for this project.
So we've been working on the billing policy, which is the first requirement. The two required pieces. Contract. See.
What if we don't?
I understood that the ordinance, suggestion of an ordinance, of course, would kind of cover the discount situation, the situation I was referring to, trying to, help people with hardship was we're filing.
Correct. Yeah. You're right. Right. And there's other, like some communities run into trouble. They have large assisted living facilities, like we don't have those here, but hundreds of beds, they get people that maybe don't always want to pay, so they put some teeth in the ordinance to make it so they gave me a whole, because it is a drain on service.
Jim? Sure. No, sir. So we probably, Christian services up who are trying to raise their funds. So here, we have to offer everybody one set because we're a municipality and it's taxpayer dollars. So everybody pays taxpayer dollars. With the idea that if they call 911, they get an ambulance from the town, so forth, it's gonna pick them up and take them home. That's what they pay the taxes. So for us to charge anything or say anything different, hypothetically, let's just use customer X and customer Y. Customer Y has the ability to pay for the subscription and is beneficial by that. But customer X can't afford that subscription rate and can't afford to pay any extra. So the services could be different for them. You can't do that. You gotta provide equal level services to every citizen. And then we put the system in place where, as the chief said, they can apply a form. Difficult to pay, they don't have the money to pay, and then we put them into the system. Ultimately, in that system, in the end, it will come down to the chief, myself, and that's how it's been in other towns I've worked. You know, and so let's hypothetically say we take Caldwell Hospital because it is due. We feel that there's an obligation in our community, Caldwell can't pay hypothetically, that because of his service to our community, we might waive that bill. That's a reality. That in other towns that could happen. But we don't discount everything. It has to be a set standard across the board so that somebody doesn't say you gave it to him, but you didn't.
Yeah, I don't know of any service.
I do. Sure. On the standby rates, how are those? I appreciate that.
So, standby rates, these are rates we've had for actually never had. We don't get a lot of them, but they need a fire truck to stand by at some private event. And at that point, we basically bill hourly for the manpower, people in the truck and itself. So it's based on the size of the vehicle.
Would you say that these rates fully cover the cost?
For sure, yeah. Because our detailed rates that we pay folks a bit higher. We're trying to keep everything.
All right, hearing no other questions, I'll vote to approve the ambulance billing as provided.
Second.
Motion in a second. Further conversation. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Dan?
Aye.
Joel? I also thank you, Campbell. We appreciate it. See you soon during budget season.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
just one comment for the council. I'd like to take a moment to thank Chief Hamel and Deputy Chief of EMS, Katie Moore, can you stand up, please, to see you? What you're seeing in front of you tonight constitutes about 6 months of hundreds of hours of work, figuring out which billing companies to go through, researching and talking to other things around us. We spent a lot of time putting this project together, get it done, get it here for July 1st. Before we get the end of June. I just want to thank them for their hard work. Eric. Easily got into the hospital, saved lives because of that. Great job.
Welcome back, Chief Hamel.
Yeah, so basically, once now with the contract signed, we'll to get like our Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare accounts all set up, and then they work with the individual insurance companies. A lot of them try to make deals, set their own rates. So they represent us, customer with those companies and try to make it as advantageous as possible to people. Not me.
Thank you all for being here.
Okay. On from there, we're moving on to my favorite one for tonight. Time of town council meetings and agenda format. So, that being said, roll down. I would like to make a motion to start the town council meetings at 6 p.m. by 6:30.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any conversation? I wanna start at 6 p.m., vice 6:30. So the meetings start at 6. not 6:30.
Instead of 6:30.
Yeah.
The fight, you know, or-
Sorry,
I just don't.
I read. Sorry for the confusion. My motion is I'd like to start the meetings at 6 p.m. instead of 6:30.
And this would be a go for it.
This would be a go for.
John, will you be making a change to that? We don't take up new business. Are you gonna be done half an hour early as well?
Nope, I'm gonna leave that till 9, because at the rate we've been going lately, we're gonna need every minute till 9. All right. Questions are good. That's. we good. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on? No. Hearing none. Sam? Aye. Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Molly? Vote aye also. Moving on to the second one, voting on agenda format for council meeting. It is a little bit clunky having council comments up so early. I would like to put that back down on the bottom. Anybody have any issues with that? Other than that, I'm okay with the way it's been since we made a couple of additions. I just would like to.
Sorry.
I have not yet.
I'm wondering.
We should, but unfinished business sometimes leads us into new business. And that's my only, I'd like to finish unfinished business, we just need to, maybe start in the extra half hour will be.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to modify our agenda format, with the only change being moving counselor comments towards the end, at the end of the meeting, right, ahead of adjournment.
Gladly second. Motion and a second. Any comments?
Last meeting, there was another one here that was topics for next meeting or something.
That has to be voted on by you, put on. If you
Where
wanted to add
was that,
something
that
there.
was after new business,
Last.
you guys like. I sort of like that, to be able to, that last, well, I guess council comments could sort of encompass that.
Correct.
now.
Yep, it's a double.
Yeah,
I don't wanna lose council.
We're not there.
Well, I mean, if they're after new, if we come up with a time.
They've always been there, Paul. I've done council comments in order of 10. They will always be there, they're just gonna be after, you know.
And then, and then so it sounds like what we're saying, it sounds like that was for the next. As whether or not that's going to cut.
Yes.
So we're on.
We have a motion. Do you have a second to your motion?
Manager,
Yes, sir.
I just do want to clarify, because I checked with legal on the fact.
Yep.
And because it's not specifically identified as new business, the agenda, it could be interpreted as any new business at all, but not necessarily new business on the agenda. That could be interpreted as new business, so I think you may want to, that might help clarify. Just like,
I agree with that, and I think I have had that same interpretation before, where I was interpreting this as like any new item for us to take up that, not necessarily literal new business on the agenda.
that's correct, it doesn't specify. So
Yeah.
it's an open statement, so if you guys wanna define that, just simply say that no new, doesn't matter whether it's unfinished business, new business, nothing new will be after 9 o'clock,
And further.
nothing further.
so
It's
me,
not really defined well in the code, it's 40 years old.
so that would include, what you're saying is that would include council comments.
No, council comments. Opportunity to ask, to say what you need, and ask for things to be put on that agenda. This is just like a business, either unfinished business, new business, general business item.
Good.
new business until we get on the agenda.
Whatever you want to do.
I was going on past practice, sir. I was just going on past practice.
I'm just clarifying.
That's fine. I think we just, I think we should just all make sure that we're clear that when it says no new business, we're referring to the section of the agenda titled new business. Not any new action for that. That's a good clarification.
Well, it could be for no new action this evening.
I know what I'm saying. I think we need to
Right.
clarify and agree on how we're interpreting.
I agree. It's actually, I mean, are we just not taking up any further business after 9 o'clock, other than councilor comments, whether it's old business or new business or unfinished?
That's,
So from that, because you put down in the past, how we have interpreted this is would be if it's 9 PM and we have not dealt with 2612 Northeastern Venture
Right.
Forward, for example, we're not dealing with that. That is
Right.
taken to the next agenda.
Yeah.
But if it was 9 o'clock and we were still waiting to deal with 25-105 personal policy discussion, that would be something we would still continue, because that's not labeled as new business on the agenda. That is how we run the meeting. And so we can continue to do that.
If the council's good with it, that's the way it's run for the 12
Yeah.
years I've sat up here.
Okay, I mean, I was under the impression we just were not gonna deal with any business at all.
No. There's nothing legal under the new business yet. Yeah, you made it.
Okay, so to restate the motion on the table is to reorder the agenda. If we look at our agenda this evening, the change that is being proposed for this evening's agenda is to simply council member comments to the end of the meeting. That's the motion.
Yes. Second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Sam? Paul? Joel? Alan? Joel, I also. Queen Hall? Bond funds for 2025 are due by February 28, 2026. Did we have, never mind.
This may be.
Yes, you can.
This is informational only item, but just for the interest or that is any growth in that fund essentially, we are able to use, the town council as the, body that's able to expend those funds, ideally for winter recreation. So this time of year, this is the annual thing, this time of year is when we start to talk about bond fund stuff, and, I expect we'll have some applications from, some local organizations, requesting those funds. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit to you guys.
So we have, and it has been modified in the past to include summer sports also. It's basically about getting kids out recreating in the community. So it was limited very early on to winter. We have pretty much rolled it into year round. It's been used in the past for ski uniforms, powerhouse, the baseball, softball programs, our rec department, I think even the library. Yep. It's, when we make money in the stock market, it's great. Looks like we have 33,000, give or take, to give away this year. So if you're listening, you have until February 28th to get your forms in to Jennifer. They are on the town website.
On that, can we leverage our new director of education? Get that information out there.
Just got ready to go tomorrow morning.
Is there a maximum grant?
There is not a maximum grant. We do, you know,
We don't want somebody applying.
correct, and there is a caveat we learned last year. So if an organization asks for $5,000 and we only get one, we cannot give them more than they ask for. We can give them less than what they ask for. But we cannot give them more. So that's the only thing we learned last year, which was a little odd, but we did learn that. So moving forward, we are going down to the MDOT traffic light agreement. We really need to get this out on the website.
This is good news.
This is really good. Jen?
We asked for a traffic light in front of Marshwood back in 2021. We got denied. We sent letters again last year along with the school, and there were parents that were going into MDOT, and it got approved. And there was such a strong issue of safety with the children going across the street into Punkintown that MDOT said, you don't only have to, you don't have to fund it at all. We'll take this on because it's safety. So DeCarlo and I talked, and we're like, well, there must be, a pedestrian crossing there as part of the, children are crossing. So we inquired, and they said, no, that's not a part of the scope. So originally they said that we would have to spend $30,000 to $35,000 to pay for the design and the extra work being done to that traffic light. I'm like, well, we have to do it for the children. So we were gonna come to you tonight with an ask of $35,000. Now we only have to have an ask of $5,000. They decided, DeCarlo made a phone call to someone and pulled some strings, and the heartstrings of the two children. And we only had to pay for the design of the actual installation. For the children.
And again, this is for the light in front of the high school.
That is correct. Okay. 36 going in 2027.
All right, so I will make the motion to allow the town manager to sign the agreement with MDOT. And the $5,000 that our portion of it will be funded from the Pumpkintown tip.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the amount or where it's coming?
I don't have any questions on that. I have some general comments about contract itself. Out of curiosity, I need to ask. It doesn't affect my vote. That's one thing. They're just comments.
Okay.
Right now.
Your call, your
Uh,
council.
Is it so? This is the first I've seen of this type of agreement. Is this similar to something that we enter into related to the downtown intersection project? Where
Yeah, they're pretty much standard mutual. These federal funding. The only difference here is where we don't really have any, we're not doing any like work ourselves. Whereas to the traffic lights on Main Street, we'll be involved in. So that'll be a little bit more particular with, like, because we're doing between the two streetlights too. So it's a little different. This is just the streetlight itself, but it's pretty much standard contract.
one of the things I noticed is that there's a statement that says MainDOT agrees to procure and administer the contract, construct the project in accordance with the plans and specifications developed by MainDOT. This would include any additional plans, specifications, and estimates furnished by the municipality and approved by MainDOT. And obviously, this is much smaller, this particular project, but when it comes to the downtown intersection project, I find that statement interesting. If this is a similar type of agreement, that there is an opportunity, it seems, if to sort of insert some of our more local plans or requirements, help direct the project. Whereas I feel like with these MainDOT projects, I've heard the adage, not really adage, but that we don't really have control over it, so to speak. I just feel like, this is, since keeping it in the back of our mind that this is a huge project, we should really make sure that we are leveraging what we can in these types of agreements to keep the town as in control of essentially our infrastructure, albeit subsidized or state highways.
This one's about a year ahead of the downtown traffic light, so we're not even at a contract point with downtown.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like I said before I started discussing, first time I've seen such a contract like this, so similar. I think we should be really intent on being proactive with the downtown intersection project and making sure that we are leveraging every opportunity we have to.
Right, noted. Anybody else? Comments?
When will the light go?
Sometime in 2027. We'll have to
Can I ask one last question? On the pedestrian crossing. Like, you know.
Yeah.
What goes out to 36?
Yeah.
And the appendix on here says that there's also the push button.
Oh, no, I was just, I didn't. Is there gonna be a reduction in speed limit? They were already in, when the lights blinded. I miss the old days, 55 went into the other.
Okay, hearing no more conversation.
Sorry, I did have one more. Oh, sorry. There's one in here that related, that is related to this project. It was that the municipality agrees to alter, move, relocate, or caused to be at no cost to the project, any municipal property, including all fixtures, facilities, or monuments located on, under, or above the ground. It goes on. I just want to make sure that, you know, there is a municipal responsibility related to moving stuff. They're maybe hoping that we've done an evaluation to make sure that, you know, there's nothing in the way, so to speak.
So in the planning, in the scope of the process, when you do engineering, they mark, they have to do all, everything above ground, everything below ground, including all basins or anything like that. But they did the same thing at 91, install those streetlights, and then, so if it's a stormwater basin, Jay would be brought in, and his crew would be, you know, they would say, this is where we're gonna move it, this is what you're gonna do. So in the scope ahead of time, we would get the basin, you know, I think, but we don't have stormwater over there, that's just store. And store, I think, over there, I don't know if it comes, who that is, I can, but any of that stuff is pre-engineered when you do the engineering, so that all the parties usually know ahead of time. And, you know, so that's what we had to move the basin over time. They moved it like 3 feet, so Jay had to go, and they dug it all around it, and
I do believe we look back when the Pumpkin Town Road was redesigned and that intersection was redone at the high school and widened and put in. We did all the infrastructure we needed for them to put lights in at that time. That was all included in that building of the new road and the widening of 236 right there.
We were anticipating
We
paying
were- Correct, we were anticipating paying for that. All that work's been done, all the substructure's been done that needed to be done at the time we did that intersection.
We did let them know that we do anticipate putting in a sidewalk in the future. Be mindful of that.
Those no, I guess what I'm getting at is we've done that exercise to make sure there's no anticipated additional town related.
Again, that design was done when we did that. $1 million. All right, we have a motion and a second on the table for the light agreement. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. Small Business Support Program, DeCarlo, I assume that's why you're here.
Sure, can I was just looking at email. I've gotten 4 or 5 emails from people. Probably.
Make sure you talk close to your microphone.
Well, it's not me. It's everything.
It's a struggle with this system and, hang tight for a year when we get a new town hall. We're doing the best we can do with what we have. Roll, Carol.
Thank you all for having me here tonight. I am going to be talking about obviously your small business program. We're creating your small business program here, a structured one. Basically, what I want to say first is that I know that we have a lot of things going on. Unfortunately, the world doesn't stop. And so we have our comp plan going on, an amendment to that, some land use provisions that we're going to have to amend, and some upcoming meetings. On February 11th, we're having a community meeting about everything that's happening with LD 1829. February 17th, we have a meeting about the intersection project here that you all have previously been told about. We have a website up, basically telling you about all the upcoming dates for those efforts at Planning for Change if you go onto our main website. But we have all that going on, but you know, the world doesn't stop turning, we still need to make money, basically. And the best way to impact the tax base is to have more small businesses coming in on smaller lots of land. You can have a huge company come in on a large plot of land, and they can put multiple buildings, but you're only going to get the tax revenues from the land once, and then the revenues from the actual structures you'll get for the individual structures. So the best thing that you can do for a town of our size and of our businesses is having a lot of small businesses come up and having an actual program to help them to come up and to take risk and to support them taking risk. And so for this structured program, in our previous budget, I requested $100,000 for the support of small businesses for growth and retention, and that was put in. But as you all know, I don't just spend money. It has to be structured. It has to be a part of 2 or 3 things that we're trying to do. So incorporating that, I put together a proposal for a program to do so that involves number one, education for small businesses that helps them get up off the ground, that helps them grow, that helps them expand and get bigger and make sure that they're sustainable. Direct fiscal support. There's some capital purchases that allow our businesses to be a lot more successful. And if you help them at the beginning, they can stay around. And the more they stay around, the more roots that they get. Capital doesn't move as fast with these small businesses as they do large businesses. And then number 3, physical space. There's been a lot of times, at least for the interim as we're going through construction, there's been a lot of times that we've had businesses come in, and I've had information for grants, and we've had meetings one-on-one with business owners or people who want to start a business, and we need to talk about X, Y, and Z, or I need to give them materials. Okay, I have this new program that could lead to your business becoming from manufacturing 1.0 to 3.0, and they say, okay, give me that information. And I say, okay, let's sit down, and we don't have anywhere to really do that. And so what we do is we meet at their place of business. We go over all the materials that we can, and we go forward. What I want this town to be is that anybody would have the knowledge base and the comfort to come in and start a small business here. And I actually want your residents to be the ones who start small businesses. And it shouldn't be this thing that, well, you need to figure out how to do X, Y, and Z. We should have those resources for them, so they stay here. That's how we've gotten some of our recent businesses to come in, just because of how we've been acting towards them and the support that we've given from our office, and we want to expand that. The more businesses that we can take from Elliott and Berwick and North Berwick, sorry guys, it's not really a competition, but I do like taking those businesses and bringing them. And so this is what this program is about. And I want to utilize the $100,000 to do that. Number one is a direct fiscal support. We've been talking about a micro grant program. This is not something that I just came up with in my mind. I've been looking around at other economic development departments around the state and around this region, in the Northeast region. And the most successful micro grant programs are micro grants. We've looked at the 10,000 level, the 20,000 level, what really attracts businesses to come in and gets the best bang for your buck for more businesses to come in is actually at the lower level, at 5,000 and more. And so that's why we're structuring that program that way. Physical space. This is a two-puncher, right? We need that physical space, as I recently said, but for small businesses, they need an avenue to get out of their homes. They need a way to get out from home occupation to a storefront, but without taking huge risks to do so. And so if we help them to do that, we have a business here that currently does that, but it's going away. And so we want to transition that business, not all taken onto the town for all time, but so we can help that transition to a nonprofit or a co-op model or something. It's been such a valuable asset to have a micro public market here, so people can get in the storefront and they can start selling their gears, their wares, not only here but to people in New Hampshire, It's a way to get our products out and actually to promote our products. We have people making things that I did not even know. We have guitar makers here, we have violin makers here, but I've never seen any of that stuff for sale. And it's a shame because that's what we're doing right now. And so the more that we can get them into that pipeline, the more I can get them into manufacturing 1.0 to 4.0, and then they can go and be your new business in Pumpkintown. As you guys know, in Pumpkintown, that's basically our artisan manufacturing center right now, but we need a pipeline to get people there to be able to take that financial risk. And so it's getting them ready. And so that's our physical space. Then lastly, education. I'm going to be very blunt. I'm your economic development director, and it is me and Brittany. That's all we got here. What I'm saying is that we need off-the-shelf tools in order to get people, and we came into the opportunity to work with Northeastern University, who has an accelerator program for small businesses. And what they do is that they help our small businesses here in town get the services that we can't provide at that cost. And this is branding, this is marketing, this is financial education support. They help them with business plans, and you have a one-on-one mentor. All of that for $30,000 for 10 to 20 businesses. The return on that is immense. And so this is what I'm proposing today. The complete small business program that would help our businesses get a leg up. And it's a pilot program. And so it's using our budget that we've already put in place. And so if things aren't working out, or we find that we need this is working out really, really well, we can reassess at the next budget cycle when that comes up regarding the TIP budget. So I'm here for any questions.
So I just want to make it clear, because I had talked to you about this prior to.
Correct.
This 100,000 is already in the budget, already approved, already designed to use for this type of small business, correct?
Correct.
What you're working on,
Yes.
already done deal, you haven't.
Yeah, so you approved that in the prior council, which is two of you were part of. You approved it as a part of the last budget cycle, and so I'm just proposing that you allow me to use the resources that you've provided already. I'm not asking for anything extra.
I do have a question. I apologize. I feel like I might be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here. So I'm just like looking at the documents that we got. So we got a number of agenda items. But in the small business support program, we have 3 proposals that provide.
So they should have been included in your packet.
Unless I'm missing them.
It's the next 3.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So I think that consistent.
Yeah, that's very agenda item.
Yes. So
I
you
think that was from maybe 30.
I'm just like not clear on what specific action you're looking for.
So this is the overview of the whole program, but I didn't want you all to have to approve the entire thing, and so I broke it down because you might have different questions about different parts of the program, or you might say, I really like this, or can you change X, Y, and Z? And so I've broken it down into those agenda items. All 3 compose of the actual program. They work together, but it's broken down, and so you can judge it on its own merits, basically. Yeah.
So the 3 proposals are micro grant program.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
26, 10, 11.
So the neighborhood market, 25,000 this year, potentially 25,000 next year. Grant program was 5,000 per grant. Is there a total amount on that one?
No, so it's as funds are available out of that 100 that's not allocated to other things. Yeah.
Was there a number? Is there a number on the
Yes.
Eastern one?
Yeah. So that is 30,000.
That's
Okay.
30.
Yes.
So 30 for that. Neighborhood market 25, and then remainder are as available.
As available.
Correct. So you'd have 45,000 available for.
Correct. Up until July. Yeah. Which is that means that we've given out 9 different micro grants. Then you would have reporting on exactly where that puts our small businesses using those funds.
So, I guess, I really like the micro grant program idea. I know a number of towns who have done that, and I like the Northeastern thing. I'm sort of struggling with the market.
Sure.
Like, who's gonna staff it? What's it gonna cost to get us to staff it? Do we need? What's it gonna take to stand it up? You know, do we have? I mean, it sounds like we're starting an incubator, or it's an incubator.
It's like,
Which is, a great concept, but it's also can be a lot of work.
sure, and so that's why I have in there the pro forma as well, that has all the expenses.
And I guess my more basic question is, are you and Brittany gonna go over there?
Yeah, so we're gonna split our time, we're have our administrative office here, but again, we're gonna be under construction. And so we're gonna split our time between here and over there. Right now, that space is only open for 18 hours right now under their current ownership. And so we would be expanding their hours. So we wouldn't actually have to deal with any money, because all the purchasers will go to a QR system. We would help those vendors get up and running for their own QR system. And so they'd be doing the same thing that people do right now. They come in and ask us questions about what's going on. And it would be a point right there in the community about all of our events and things that are going on, such as a whole amendment to our comp plan and land use changes. You're changing a completely new land use system because of state requirements. And so there's going to need some one-on-one and some direct support of our community with that. And being on the third floor in the back of the office, it's not as friendly as being able to go in and ask questions about, okay, what is going on here? What can you do?
Right, so to just keep this clear.
Yeah.
And make it easy for everybody. We've got the general overview.
Yeah.
Let's go one for one.
Yeah.
Let's go to 2610, the micro grant program. Go with our questions on the micro grant program, if you have any. Make our motion, if we're gonna make a motion, then we'll move to 2611, 2612, just to keep it clear, so we're not confusing ourselves or anybody in the audience. So 2610 is the micro grant program. I would move that we move forward with the micro.
Yeah, that's one clarifying question for you.
Sure.
So looking at your criteria for who's eligible, one thing that's in there is you have to show proof of commerce.
Yes.
So, but then you have the option for those that have a business idea but have not made profit.
Correct.
They need to take a course for New Venture Spain.
So they need to take a course as New Venture Veins gives a course for people who want to start a business, and so you can get a business plan. And so at the end of that, you have to show, if you do not have a current business that is showing commerce, then you at least need to take a course, right? That's a very powerful course, and give a business plan. Prepare a business plan of how you expect to make money off of this venture. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect.
That's free.
And
Okay, yes, sure. Yeah, so sorry, all the program offering to the end consumer are free. And so we're giving these resources to our community just to make sure that there's no more barriers for people to start these small businesses.
That's why we're picking up the tab for Northeastern.
Yes, correct.
Yes. It's free to the small businesses.
Yes.
The town is picking up the tab out of the tip, which is what it's designed for, from the business district. Bring more business to town to hopefully, in the end, lower our tax base. So, did you make the motion?
I think
I don't think it's.
I'll second it. So we have a motion and a second on the micro grant program.
One final question, so because we're talking about this year, $26. The micro is only through the end of this fiscal year, or are we planning to allocate, or proposing to allocate some other next year?
So right now, it's only funded through July of this year. People have until July of this year to apply for it and to get approval of it.
Yeah.
If the council so sees fit to let that continue or allocate that, because it is TIP funds, they can be earmarked for the next fiscal year. You all are within your right to do so, but I'm always limited in scope.
That brings, so, because I know like at the end that if we don't earmark them, they sort of go back to the state, is that correct? Or they,
Yeah, ultimately, yes, no, like it doesn't, yeah.
so that would be just. This, we are able to get out that's 25,000. How is that process to make sure the additional, if we were to do that next year?
Correct. And usually you do so, when we get to the TIP budget.
Right.
And that's after your regular operating.
The funds don't get returned to the state until after the 30 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have 30
Yeah.
days.
It just goes back to the.
Goes back in the
general.
It's in our best interest to do those by the end of the 30 years, like we should have mentioned.
Correct, yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none on the micro grant program. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Molly?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. Moving down to 2611, the Neighborhood Exchange and Public Market Program.
Can I ask a question on this?
Sure, yes.
So I really like this idea, and I agree with you. I think I love this idea. What I would like to understand is we have a lot of other stuff that's not this.
Yeah.
And from an operational perspective,
Yes.
concerns about staffing, all the other things that we have going on, it seems like quite an undertaking.
It is and it isn't. We need a place that people can come in and comment on these things, especially the comp plan and land use changes. And right now, if people came in to comment on them, I can take their comment in writing, but that's it. I need to be able to put out maps. I need to be able to like really put out displays of what these changes actually mean, interactive, and we need a place to actually hold these educations. To give you an example, Sunshine Economic Council of Washington County is giving out a free class. I've shared that before. It's a free 3-credit class that counts towards colleges and everything like that. But for people who have difficulty in being at home, or they can't really take it at the library, they can take it here, and then we can give them the materials that helps them to make a business plan. So that's something that's above and beyond what like the library would do or the community center would do, but something that's in the wheelhouse of direct support for economic development. And it's using the same hours. It's literally just us, one of us being over there at one point. So it's a direct support and direct placement for people to be there. In addition to that, we can have volunteers that are helping out. As far as on the commerce side, we have been approached by a number of different partners who would also like to be in the space, but they're not included in this because they're not concrete, and I'll bring you 3 things.
I've talked to DeCarlo about this a little bit, and do you talk about that? You mentioned this would be like sort of a pilot program,
right?
And there was some nonprofit you had mentioned that assists small vendors such as the ones that are currently in Young Shop, creating a co-op.
Yeah, and so there's 2, right? So there's actually it's one for nonprofits. There's a state nonprofit arm that helps people basically are able to stand up operations like this and takes the commerce side on it. So you just have that interactive space over there. There's a co-op, a nonprofit that helps the vendors themselves can start a co-op. And so once you become a part of a co-op, you are a part of running that business itself. That way it's not an extra thing in the town. And so then there's also private industry that we can operate to. This is about ensuring a key part of our small business pipeline active, because if we lose it, it would be extremely difficult to get back. And it would be way more expensive to get back. And then we wouldn't also have the consumer facing the community facing space that allows us to have that direct input and direct responses from people who are interested in making comments here. On another note, when people are making comments to can get up at the beginning of your meeting, they can say their spiel, or they can put something in writing, and that's it. Other than that, they come in directly to our offices, and they can make comment there. But it's not theirs. It doesn't feel like their space. In order to have a space like that they're invited into to make comment, good or bad, is direct support and a direct responses that you all have been talking about, and that's one of the reasons that I thought about this solution. For example, you all at your previous meeting and the meeting before that, and meeting before that, you all had talked about having meeting space for you all counselors for people to go on to meet, but you had to think of a place, and so you all were thinking about, hey, maybe we can have this at a coffee shop, but you have to get permission from that coffee shop owner to have a meeting like that for that. This would be a space that you could use for that direct, support between you and the residents, because it's not a space that you would need to reserve or pay somebody to reserve. It's another concept.
I think this is it's a great concept. I'm not sure I'm totally ready for it. One issue I have is we're building space downstairs for a planning office.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to work? I mean, we're creating a new space. You're going to get a brand spanking new office. So I guess I'm unclear on, because it almost sounds like we're moving the planning. It's as much for planning as for economic development.
Yeah.
But because we're talking about coming in and talking about the comp plan and this and that,
Yeah.
which to me, yeah, I know that's economic development, but so I mean, I think if we're saying we're moving the planning office over there, the planning and economic development department, then let's just say that's what we're doing.
So, but
I don't.
we're not actually doing that. Our administrative offices are here. So if you look at the redo plan of this office, you can see that it is literally just my office and Brittany's offices are right in front of each other. There's no customer resident centered space in the new build in that way. This is for people who don't want to walk all the way in here because we're set back from the street. This is for when people are coming in asking about the town. There's a community space right there that's actually a lot easy for people to go in. And I'm selling you a dream. That's what I do. I'm the economic development director, so I know what I'm doing. Doing here is as far as selling you and trying to sell the dream. And if it's not something that you guys can support right now, that's okay with me. But I wanted to give you this option because I do think it would be an asset as we are going forward through these changes.
Just one final thing. So what's the time? I mean, when do we need to do this? I mean, I know the comp plan and you want that space so you can have people have easy access to understanding what we're doing.
Yeah.
But when do we need to make a decision on the actual leasing space?
I mean, so you don't need to make a decision tonight, but I would like, as soon as you all make the decision, I'm going to start the process of getting information and everything out for residents almost immediately. To give you an idea, we did surveys today. We did neighborhood surveys of 5 different neighborhoods. We have a full schedule ready for all of our community meetings already on our website, but it's not anywhere visible. Right. And so when people are walking down the street or they're getting pizza or they're going into the market, it takes more effort for us to go out there and also to do that work. And if we are in the space, we could, boom, we're plastered, it's already there.
I mean, I do think it is an interesting idea, and one of the things that I think is interesting about it is that when we're talking about attracting new small businesses and where the traffic of people is in town, although town hall is right here in downtown, the current shop is right in the block building. It's where the most foot traffic is in town. So people that are most likely, in my opinion, to be intersected is is in that sort of moment. Trying to run like a scenario in my head of like just going, if you were to go and pick up pizza or whatnot, there was a neighborhood market there with local vendors. I think of a little something and how much of a loss it was when that place closed. And by no means do I want our government to run a business like that. But my understanding is that this is 12 to 18 month thing that would then, which generally aligned with when the town hall renovation is going to be complete, then it would be handed off to someone, or it would be like, all right, didn't work. Okay. I think it's an interesting idea.
We have a question in the audience. Actually, we have two. You should have to come on. You know the protocol, man. Thank you.
Melissa Costello, Woods Corner. I would respectfully ask that the council actually table this section, that we're discussing right now. There is great concern of, if you remember correctly, when we were actually making a decision about the town hall of whether to renovate or rebuild, we talked about leasing the first floor to become, a space where business could be. And now we're talking about leasing and being business owners, and then the concerns about staffing and this and that. Like, the biggest concern is when DeCarlo said, I'm trying to sell you a dream. And then he said, if you vote on this, I will then get you the information of specifics. I think we need the specifics before you make a decision on that, and would greatly appreciate that consideration. Thank you.
Mike, you had a question?
I'm confused as to where the space, the neighborhood exchange is going to be. Is it across the street?
Yeah, it's a true.
Yes. Okay.
It's addresses.
Okay.
Dakota?
Oh, so by no means, I have any questions you have, I can have answered for you. But I'm just more saying that I understand that this is a lot of new information, and I can table anything, come back and talk to it. But if you have questions now, I have answers.
I'm personally curious about kind of like how do we, okay, so we enter into, how do we get out? Kind of.
Okay, so
I agree with what Melissa stated. I'm like, I love this idea. I think operationally, I think we should be in the business of kind of renting a space downtown, et cetera. It's kind of what I'm stuck on. So tell me how, let's say we go into this, how do we get ourselves out of this?
sure.
How do we transition?
So number one is time limited because we will be taking over a lease. We're not starting a new commercial lease that has a 3 or 5 year time period. Taking over a lease allows us to have a time period of only 18 months. So it's time limited in that way. Number two, the operation of the commerce portion. If the commerce portion does not work and that people aren't making enough money to pay the $75 dues a month, that's not factored into the money ask. And so the money ask is that no one pays, and that's only for commercial space. So anytime somebody actually pays to rent out a space, which they do right now, it actually lowers the amount of money that comes out of the ask between $5,000. And so that is also another portion that way. And it lines up completely with your renovation timeline. And so if it's very successful, then you might think of having this type of space somewhere else that you need to be renovated in town. And if it's not successful, then it's renovated. The town hall is renovated, and we're just getting out. As far as other towns doing something like this, so Paul can tell you, economic development places are always downtown. And the purpose of that is that it helps with renovation, and it helps with downtown revitalization. You want to put your services that you want people to go to. And when people are going to those places, they also go to other shops and buy X, Y, and Z. And so anywhere you want to revitalize, you put stores there, and then people follow.
I remember when we were considering renovating versus doing the town hall, and I agree with what Melissa said. You all decided we didn't wanna be landlords and rent to other businesses, and this puts us right in that space again of being a landlord. I just think logistically, and from a personnel standpoint, it doesn't make sense.
Back to the council. I will entertain a motion from somebody if you'd like to make one. I would motion that we table this. But you know, I don't wanna, you know, leave it out there forever, so, but I would make a motion, we table, and, maybe we can give Carla some feedback on some of the additional information. All right, or unless you have something different.
Why are we tabling that? He's right here, if you have a question, I'm just very confused, like, we have everything written here, we have an 18-month lease, so we have time to get, when we return, we can, it's a low cost, it gives people a physical space to sell products, it brings people downtown. I'm honestly just trying to track the negativity on it.
Okay, because we have a motion and a second on the table right now, so. Unless they're retracted, we need to move on that motion. Tim, you have? Okay, so standing right now, we have a motion and a second on the floor to table this for further thought from the council. Get back to Carla.
Mr. Chairman, don't put an end date on the table. That's correct.
Yes.
So you're gonna have a specific end date on the table.
I revised the motion to table it to our next meeting. February 10th, 11th.
You made the motion, so you should be the one doing that. She seconded it. Okay. Over there with you, Mallory. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to table it until February 10th.
I think one thing that I think would probably be helpful for me in this, because again, I've expressed, like, I think that this is a great idea. I think just like the operations nature of it and us entering into kind of a lease and all of that, I understand all the information, but I think that what would be helpful, I think, for me to understand is like, I don't know if we have any feedback or anything from specific businesses, kind of an understanding of like, once we do this, do we have a bunch of people kind of on board? Like, that kind of piece of it, like to hear from more than just town staff about the benefit of this.
Sure. So there's two portions to that, right? So there's 15 plus vendors who are already in the space, but they're not all software based, right? And so this is a new service that could be software based into our home occupations. And so this is not an option that our home occupations have ever had before. And so we would be looking for home occupations that wouldn't have the space. This would be benefiting for people to come in. So that's number one. Number two, I can't have other economic developers come in about this. It's a tricky statement because this is a new space, and what we're trying to do is offer a service that our businesses have never had before. And so I can have the current business owner come in and talk about, you know, all the businesses and that she's helped out at this price point. But it doesn't equate to what we're trying to do, because this also is a place for your residents, period, to be able to go into that they don't have now. And also a business education space. For instance, the next item right up is the Northeastern Accelerator Program. So if we don't have a dedicated space, then we have to reserve different spaces from either the community center or the which is okay. For this type of services, I wanted it to be a space that our businesses can come in and they can fill out a grant, help them fill out a grant right there. They can make a business plan or anything like that. But that type of feedback is not going to come from the current business owner because that's not the service that they. This is a service that we provide as a town.
Can I have a point of clarification and follow up? Sure. So again, all the money that would be going to this has already been appropriated.
Right.
No budget changing.
No.
No impact to taxpayers. It's already been appropriated.
It's already been appropriated, and the current business is actually profitable. But I didn't want to put that in there because I have to ask for the worst case scenario. And at the worst case scenario, it's 1/4 of the budget that you provided me for supporting small businesses.
So the venture itself is already profitable.
Correct.
We're trying to make it focus on South Berwick.
Correct.
I heard a lot when I was running for this role that people are angry about their taxes. I've seen the budget. We do everything we can, and you're amazing at it, to spend what we have. We either raise taxes to do more, or we get other revenue sources, which is businesses. So this gives us an opportunity to bring in businesses and other revenue sources to the.
Yes, that's the.
Seems like no brainer.
I think another item on our agenda today is to discuss $25,000 about just putting in perspective what you could get for this money in different ways. And I think, whether we're ready to make this in today or not, truly. But the more I think about this, I just see a distinct benefit, I really do. And I think it's not only the small business part of it, but it really is what we talk about here at every meeting is communication and putting someone from the town a little more on the street, so to speak, probably is a good move for communication.
Okay, so again, we have a motion on the table right now in front of us to table this until the next council meeting. Hearing no more discussion, we will go to a vote. Sam?
I'm gonna vote no on this.
Paul? Joel?
No.
Mallory?
Yes.
Vote yes also. I got a few questions I would like answered before the next meeting. And wrap my head around it. I also want to take in a little more input from the public. I know I sat here and also stated they didn't want to be a landlord. I understand where DeCarlo's going with this and I support the program. I just want a little bit more time to wrap it up in my head.
Sure. Can just questions be provided to me so I can.
100%.
Okay.
Yes, I'll have them for you before you show up.
Sure.
So, moving on from that one, we get to 2612. Allow the Beach Adventure Program to move forward and agreement drafted and contract for 3/20. Motion and second.
Now that we have tabled the neighborhood thing. There's a piece of this that's talking about like a physical space.
Yeah. So
So does this
So-
northeast one?
no, I just would need to reserve space in the community center or the library, and I would have to work out with them a standard time. But before then, I need to know when the businesses are available, so it's best fitting for them.
Okay.
And then schedule with the appropriate space that we can find.
Okay. So basically my question is if we, given that we've not taken any action or made a decision on the neighborhood exchange, that doesn't make the northeastern venture not doable.
Correct.
Thank you.
I would, let me I haven't seen the space, so my number one goal is to go downtown.
Sure,
Take a look at
yeah.
that. So, which is one of my little bit of my reticence and like moving
Sure,
forward.
yeah,
Without actually ever seeing what we're losing.
sure.
All right, we are on 2612 Northeastern. We have a motion and a second. Any further conversation on that? Okay, hearing none. Sam? Paul?
Yeah, Mike.
Joel?
Aye.
Alan? Vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. That concludes new business for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
Please email any questions, you can provide them right away.
Thank you.
Prior to starting unfinished business, the council needs to go into a quick executive session on the one MSRA 406, sorry, 405. 6A? No, it's 6.
Eight personnel. I think it's 16 contract.
Easy.
Yes. 6D contracts. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any conversation? All right, we will be right back with everybody. We will make this. Sorry. Aye. We'll be right back. I'll make this very quick. I'll second it. Oh, we are right up with 25, Jack. Huh? Oh, sorry, we need a vote. All in favor of coming out of executive session?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Alright, first order of business, 25 TACO 99, owner's representative for the town hall project. I will entertain a motion on that, folks.
Mr. Chair, I move to award the, position of. The next step would be to reach back out to the selected contractor and request a formal approval. Is that correct?
Nope, just to have the town manager sign a contract with the vendor twice.
Move to, allow the town manager to sign a contract with Dovetail Consulting for the owner position of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any conversation? I would just say both companies presented very well. There were pluses and minuses both ways. It was very close. So thank you for both companies for doing the interviews. We did have another company that came in late. We did review the data and decided to go this way to get us to this point. Hearing no other conversation, we'll go to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Joel? Thank you, Joel. Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4 with 1 abstention. The reason for the abstention from Councilor Martin was he was only present for one of those interviews. Okay, moving on from there, 25 TAC 100 food truck cart application update. Is that you, DeCarlo?
So that one is not ready to go for this one, but we have made changes, so that should be on your next agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll leave that on unfinished business. We will now move down to 25 TAC 102, the community art program update with Vice Chair Cook.
Thank you. I will try to be relatively brief. So included in the packet, I have a presentation that I will walk through and a number of documents. Goes in crazy detail this evening. But over the past few months, I have been connecting with a couple of members of our community, specifically Len Bow and Eddie Flanagan, to kind of brainstorm about how to roll out a community art program for South Berwick. This is something that the council more or less tasked me to do over the summer and bringing you all an update with the proposed program. Monique, if you'll jump to the next slide for me. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to review this proposal. The name that I suggested is our Town Art Voices for this community art program for South Berwick. So you start to integrate local art into our spaces, town hall. It's kind of designed to complement the town hall renovation in the downtown town, and to be community centered, etc. Next slide is more or less the goal of the program. Okay. The core of the program that's being proposed here involves 3 tracks. The first would be permanent art installation here in town hall. So given the town hall is in the process of being renovated, it's an opportunity for us to hang different things on the walls inside of this building, or potentially solicit some work for some murals. So the first track would involve permanent art installation in this building. The second track would involve some rotating exhibits also in this building. Ideas for this could be a display case where we're displaying local artwork from Central School, for example, or this could be an opportunity where local artists could hang some of their pieces in town hall that and have them be for sale. So it's an opportunity for those artists to also sell their artwork, but then also, in this building. The third track is community murals. This would be the much larger murals that would be outside. That would be the third track. There's also some additional potential tracks we've kind of thrown in there, ways to expand the program beyond the permanent rotating community murals. The potentially explore some collections of maybe some additional. I think the point is that the program is just this is kind of a weird slide, it kind of covers the oversight process. So the way that is community art committee to be a local committee, there's like a plan committee or revitalization committee or that would be really like the facilitator, I guess, of this program, where that community art committee would be in a supporting an advisory role, reviewing the submissions from artists and ultimately making recommendations, but holding the final approval authority with the town council. So again, the community would help with reviewing those submissions, recommending artists, ensure transparency, as well as potentially budget, the previous town council approved $100,000 for this current fiscal year. And those are with the available this year. So I think what I've kind of laid out in this we'll get to that in a second. So if we move to the next slide for me, I'm just trying to really clearly lay out what action needs to be taken by what proposed action needs to be taken by this evening. I propose that we the council, the entire council, to approve the program as it's been laid out. Look to identify the initial list of display and mural locations. So that would be in this building as well as some locations downtown. We do have some ideas that have already been laid out in the proposal. Ideally, nailing down that list by the end of February timeframe. Throughout the month of February, ideally after tonight, opening up an application for the community art committee members to start gathering applications from local residents who are interested in serving on that committee. And then also at the same time, in parallel throughout the month of February, drafting and opening an RFP for a mural for the side of Oddfellows. One thing that we are aware of is that the plan to own the building that Oddfellows resides in on the side facing Portland Auto, that's the part of the building we're referring to. And we know that there's appetite from building owners, big appetite, I think, for them for a mural to be put there. And the Carlo and I kind of had a little bit of an exchange about this, and given the downtown revitalization work that is happening around wayfinding and signage, we thought that this particular location is a great opportunity for like big welcome to moments in town that could align with the wayfinding effort that's happening within the downtown revitalization committee. And so I think the girl keep me honest here, because if we're talking about an outdoor mural, there's obviously a seasonality and timing to this. There are only certain times of the year where the work can actually be completed. And in the interest of trying to kind of get going on that, DeGrello has suggested that for that particular mural that's located on the side of Island, that we actually utilize the downtown revitalization committee as the kind of reviewer of submissions, I guess, to ensure that that particular mural is going to align with like wayfinding stuff. Is that what you?
Yeah, so when you go over this program and I'm thoughts of starting this work and using the fund, thinking of the TIF funds that this budget season ends in July, and then it's a seasonality with murals. They can't do it during the middle of summer. It's too hot. You cannot put the murals on the side of the wall. So you have to move it up. Those who we've been talking to muralists for the past year, just for different projects and whatever have you, to get additional information on how, if people wanted to do murals, what do you do as far as that concerned, and just the people who do murals, graphic artists, and other different artists, they do murals as a part of their portfolio, but it's not all of their portfolio. So it's not one place you can go and get all muralists. They're doing stuff on the side, and so in order to open up their schedule for a time frame for the spring, you have to do an RFP like earlier in the February month, in order to get that in the spring. And so my direct response is, if you want it to get done in the time frame that you're envisioning, then you have to shift it, because your new committee would not be up and running by the time that you really do need to make a decision. And so, looking at how your comp plan ad hoc committee is actually working with your planning board, I suggested, something similar, going like, you can allow this as a way to get that ad hoc committee up and running, because they would see how decisions are getting made. In addition to that, this mural and the location of it is when you're stopping at that stoplight, or you're in that line to stop at the stoplight, it's very visual. And so if that's one of the first things that you're seeing, that you really do want that to be aligned with your wayfinding, that is coming to fruition soon.
I like the spark plug sign.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm new east side.
That's old school South Florida.
Do we revamp that and then put one underneath that?
Yeah.
You hear that, I think, I mean, I've got a complete mention.
Like, take that.
So that's all artistic taste. I'm not going to get into that. It's more of just last thing I'm going to say is beautification is community amenities. And the more community amenities you have, the property values of those areas actually increase. So if you are looking at areas that you do want, hey, we want some revitalization to happen here, you do want to look into, it is a cheap investment in investing in art that really does pay dividends.
It's a big one. I mean, you see it.
It's huge, and it's right there.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Toronto. So, do you guys have any questions on program?
Does that change that track for the large mural? Does that change the proposed action or desired actions?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. So I think the biggest change, I think, what this would kind of prompt is everything that I laid out here in terms of approval. I think that's still holds true today. And I think for council, again, staff to figure out what things would be. I still think it makes sense for us to go ahead and start gathering applications for the committee members right now. Like, I think that's an important thing to get going on. And I think we can still move forward with the RFP. And I think the change that we're talking about here is different from in my proposal. And we're simply talking about, instead of utilizing the community art committee that doesn't yet exist to make the decision, or to make a recommendation rather to the council on the choice for each word, basically the revitalization committee can perform that function for this particular decision, because it really aligns with what I think. So, council, three things I think I'm looking for today is approval of the overall program. To go ahead and put out the application. Any
Sorry, just a question. For the RFP, are we limiting it to artists?
I think that's a great point to bring up.
Very lawyery question. When you say from Maine, that currently reside in Maine, or connections to Maine?
They could be.
Okay, I have to, because
Great idea, great thought.
Exactly. Thank you, Tim. That's a really good point. Who's gonna make the decision? The connection to Maine, and if they're from Maine. I'm all for hiring Maine people, but if someone comes with a knockout design and they live in New Hampshire, I'm okay with letting them paint a mural on the wall.
I know. In the, for example, in our purchasing policy, proposals are within 10%. we can make that. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Declare anything to and the committee.
Mallory seconded. Just wait for any further discussion. Because Joel had a point. The motion didn't get made. Are we good with leaving it as the RFP will be open? We'll look at submissions.
I think that, I mean, could you just say preference would be good?
I'm really not sure legally how that's gonna hold up. I wouldn't do that.
Motion to add to the RFP. What is your connection? I would love if they were from here, but again, we can get from here.
Discussion, Sam.
Aye.
You, Paul, Joel. What would I also? No, that was the motion. You amended it.
Thank you all.
Alright, 25-103 is the Railroad Ave update. The planning department is putting together a presentation to be on the agenda for February 10th. Is that true, Carla?
It will be ready.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I know Paul will appreciate that.
See you soon, Carl.
So moving down is informational only. We had a workshop a while back with town council talk priorities. They're not listed in any particular order because we need to have a workshop so we can go over these. My suggestion for a workshop is either after one of our budget meetings, if we have a shorter budget meeting, or one of the unused budget meeting days, because you're both missing a meeting in February, so it makes no sense to try to schedule a workshop in February. So does anybody have an issue with, we'll look at this further down and schedule them up. We need to get them done, right? And we can add if you want to. This was me quickly writing down. Some of them are already done. For the town. Kill that. Again, informational only. Moving on to the last item for business, or unfinished business, is the personal policy discussion.
So at the November 11th meeting, I had raised some concerns related to the content in the employee handbook that was adopted short before November. To address these concerns, I'd like the town council to direct the town's human resource professional to review the current manual with a focus on some particular objectives. I wanted to note that I don't, attorneys are not human resource professionals. I don't think that at this point there's any need for an attorney to review these draft changes. Perhaps that they can agree to make now make any review sufficient to be done by the HR. So I'd like to move that the town council direct the towns through the town manager, direct the town's human resource professional to prepare draft revisions to the employee handbook for council review and approval to ensure the employee handbook accomplishes the below objectives. To clearly state that town council is the governing body responsible for adopting, amending, failing personnel policies, to explicitly state that all employees are permitted to contact human resources at any time without prior approval or notice, do not require or suggest an employee confront their harasser, do not permit the town manager to perform wellness checks on employees, do not hinder free speech such as by disallowing select communications, do not hinder due process such as by stating the town manager's decision is final and binding, provide clear and succinct procedures for any employee, including department heads, file grievances or complaints against a supervisor, immediate or otherwise, that does not include confronting the person they are aggrieved by. This should be accomplished by engaging human resources as soon as the aggrieved believes it would be helpful to resolve the grievance, to facilitate the process, and to prevent escalation. And finally, to define, designate, or remove the word from him.
So there's a motion on the table. For a second. Second. Okay, so we have a second. So I will start the discussion on it. You wanna move this to HR. HR wrote this. It took a year and a half for them to get this. All of these policy handbooks were given to our employees. They all signed for receiving said documents. As far as I know, and I'll stand corrected, there have been zero complaints from any of the town employees on the handbook policy or anything that it contains. Is that a correct statement? The cost to do this, again, we're gonna add more costs to a process and a manual that the town employees have no issues with. So I'm very hesitant to do this. I understand some of your points as far as addressing the complaint or addressing your the aggrieved. That is common in most businesses and in the years I've been in management. The first question I get asked, I call EEO or EAP, is did the complainant let the person know that they didn't like what was being said? Now, it depends on the situation. And I'll use an example real quick just so you understand why I'm gonna go hunting. If I walk in every day and I'm talking to Paul about hunting, and you don't like it, and you don't say anything to me about it, and you go to complain to management, first question they're gonna ask you is, have you said anything to John that you don't like it? And if you say no, the direction goes this way. If you say yes, the direction goes a completely different way because you told me you don't like it, and now I am deliberately doing it to upset me. So that changes the entire direction of the investigation. I don't know how much experience people have here in the council. Unfortunately, in my job over the shipyard, I've dealt with dozens of these. I've had NCIS investigate them, Gary Police, I've been in federal court. I have the US Attorney General's number on my phone right now because I'm still dealing with a wrongful death from 3 years ago. This is common verbiage in all of our training and what we ask. I don't see bang for the buck in having HR rewrite. Again, that's why I'm gonna vote no. That's my personal opinion. Council, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'm just gonna add that, this has been work that's been ongoing for a long time, and it was with the hands of our human resource professional for a long period of time. And I feel like, that's sufficient. It's recently been reviewed by a human resources professional, and, I've not heard of any particular issues from any of the specific people that this affects, which is the employees. And so I also will be voting no on that.
I have heard from more than two, and I also talked to a professional who works for Fortune 500 company, and they have said that language was in our policy, we would sue like crazy.
I tell you, it's in the federal government's policy, and they're not sued like crazy. And I take training on almost 30 hours a year on it. So again, that's why I'm going on it. I'm based on it, and I've been in federal district court with this. And I've walked people out with 30 years, leaving no pension when I walk. So I know it sticks. But again, that's why we're a council of five. Paul, any comments?
going.
You know, I
Oh,
look
sorry.
at that.
Mhm.
I mean, I think there's a couple that are worthy of discussion, but, you know, how we do that, I don't know. We're looking for where changes. Probably say, let's, you know, just see where, you know, keep it in place and we'll see what happens later.
It's the path of having the HR do it. Not having any documentation.
I would hope that the timeframe took them to get, it was well known to be. About a year and a half it took to get this from start to, from the HR company. It wasn't done overnight, I don't think they just plucked it off the end. Again, this is what we paid them to do, we're gonna send it right back to the same people that just wrote this for us, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna tell us that it's good to go.
Yeah, I guess it's not necessarily whether it's good to go, it's, I'm speaking not from my own personal, not just my own personal opinion of the city.
Understand? And again, I thank you for the input, definitely, and whoever reached out to you. Joel, anything?
I mean, I think everyone's experience with this is gonna be different, like, John, you have yours in government, I have mine in tech. And this would now, like, Sam's changes would be normal language, expecting someone to confront the person that they feel uncomfortable with would open you up to, like, to issues. I understand from the point you made, like, let's talk about hunting. This isn't being brought up about. Being brought.
So it's not an expectation, it's a question that they ask you, it's not an expectation, they're not gonna send you out and say, go confront this person. That, they ask you if you confronted the person. It's not, they're not directing you to go out and ask the person. They're asking if you did. That's the difference of how it is, they're not saying, go tell that person how you feel, it's, did you tell that person how you feel? And again, that changes the direction of the investigation.
I think
So
it leaves
where-
it up to interpretation.
Where would be the issue with confirming or ensuring that it does not require suggested?
There isn't one other than the company, the person you wanna send this to, the people we wanna send this to, are the people that issued this to us. We paid them good money to do it, and now we're gonna take more taxpayer money for them to review a policy handbook that was designed for the employees. The reason this got taken out of an ordinance and put to us was in case something changed in state law, personnel law, like it does every year. It wasn't for the council to look at it and say, we don't like this. The employees, again, I've been to department head meetings, I've talked to department heads. Nobody's had a complaint signed for this and nobody's had an issue with it. So until one is brought forward, I find it hard to justify spending money to redo something that right now I don't see a problem with. And again, based on, we all work different places, so policies are different. But no complaints to me right now equals we leave it the way it is and we can change it down the road if we get a complaint, an official complaint. That's how I view it. But again, just my opinion.
And those complaints could be directed straight to the council.
They should go through the chain of command, just like it's designed to do and in the book. That's how it's written. That there is a chain of command for a reason. I believe it was supported. I live it every day. discussion, Sam?
I have what's the machinery? I will send it to the human resource, send it to HR.
Sam, aye? Paul? Go.
Now, vote no also, motion fails 3-2.
That ends business for this evening. I will accept the motion for adjournment. Seconded, all in favor? Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Sam, have a safe flight. I hope you're out.